Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Mitch. Thanks for tuning into my channel. And today I'd like to start a video series on extended water fasting. So, my goal for this video is to kind of track and document um, my experiences on an extended water fast. Probably going to be about 10 days, may push it to 14, but we're just going to see how I'm feeling. I want to say that this is my first time ever making a YouTube video that involves recording myself, so just bear with me a little bit here. But really, YouTube has been an invaluable tool for me over the last few years. I've used it to help repair my car, repair household appliances, do house repairs, all kinds of cool stuff, including researching and learning about health conditions. So I wanted this to be kind of an opportunity for me to give back to the community a little bit, and I hope you guys can find this video helpful. So I thought it might be helpful to give you guys a bit of a background of why I've been interested in fasting and keto and my health struggles in the past. Basically, back in 2009. Started having some issues with my skin. My hair was falling out. Weird things going on. Went to a dermatologist, got diagnosed with some weird infection, and they put me on lots of antibiotics. I was on antibiotics for a while, for months and months, and that really harmed my microbiome. So that was kind of the beginning of things with this skin infection. Then I got diagnosed with a gallbladder disorder, and things started to pop up like leaky gut, SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, all these things. And really for the last 4 years, it's been pretty rough trying to understand the types of foods that I can tolerate, which is not many. But the cool thing is that I feel like for those of us with chronic conditions, sometimes we start to feel a little bit desperate, and it's in these times of desperation that we make our greatest discoveries. So I started researching the ketogenic diet and fasting, and it seemed like this could be a really good fit for me. There are stories of people being able to kind of reset their gut, reset their microbiome with extended fasts. So I decided, why not? So about 2 weeks ago, I did a 72-hour water fast, which went pretty well. I had a pretty bad headache on day 2, but otherwise it went well. And then I began a strict keto diet. So I've been doing that for 2 weeks, and that's where it puts me today. I'm on day 1 of my extended water fast, and so I'm going to get into the details of what's going on now. Okay, so this is day 1 of my extended water fast. At the moment, I'm about 23 hours in, and I feel okay. I'm pretty fatigued, to be honest. Feeling fairly hungry, but this is all to be expected. Now, I just want to be clear about a few things about this fast in particular and my approach, my strategy. I am choosing to supplement with salt for the duration of this fast. There is an awesome YouTube video that I'll link to this description. I'll link in the description below. It's this guy named Dorian Wilson. He's got a bunch of awesome videos on fasting, and his video on sodium supplementation pretty much convinced me that it's a good idea. I think you could go either way, but personally, I'm just kind of playing it safe. I mean, a 10 or a 14-day water fast is kind of pushing it in terms of non-supervised fasting. So I think that avoiding the symptoms, signs and symptoms of hyponatremia is in my best interest. So I'm going to be doing about 4 to 6 half teaspoons of Himalayan salt each day. I'll just dose it based on how I'm feeling. The other thing I wanted to point out is that I'm choosing to drink tap water as opposed to distilled water. Again, there's there's some clinics out there and some people that advocate drinking distilled water throughout the water fast. And I don't know, there's people that say that could also be dangerous. Distilled water has basically zero things in it besides H2O, and our bodies need minerals and electrolytes to survive. Now I'm doing the sodium, but again, I'm just gonna play it safe. It's tap water. I'm just trying to heal my gut here. I'm not trying to break any records or solve any crazy mysteries. So that's where I'm at right now. One other thing I did for this experiment, so to speak, is I purchased a ketone and glucose blood meter from Keto Mojo, and I just did my first test just about half an hour ago, and surprisingly, I'm already at 3.5 millimolar of the ketones after 23 hours. My glucose is 78. So I'm pretty happy with these numbers. I mean, my body has ramped up into full ketone production. It sounds like, based on some of the books I've read, that the safe range for nutritional ketosis is 0.5 to 5.0 millimolars. Up to about 7 really is kind of the higher end of the range. Above 7 may not be so good, but I'm gonna keep track of that vital sign and just see how things progress. But that's about it for day one. I mean, I would say I'm expecting that my ghrelin hormone will continue to kind of scale down and I'll be less hungry. I'm also hoping to have less fatigue. I slept really well last night, which was great. And I do want to add that in terms of ending my fast, certainly I'm going to keep track of my glucose and my ketones, but outside of these kind of normal symptoms, lightheadedness, dizziness, fatigue, hunger, if I really start feeling sick, like really freaking bad, I'm just going to end the fast. I think that's kind of a good way to measure it for me. I think that's probably a good way for most people to measure or to kind of keep track of their fasting and make decisions about when it hasn't been long enough. So anyways, thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I'll be back on day 2. All right, so it's the end of day 2, about 48 hours into my fast, and feeling kind of weak still. Not too bad. I haven't really been feeling the headaches or the dizziness or lightheadedness that I have felt in the past in my last 72-hour fast, but definitely still feeling a little weak. Last night was a little rough. My wife invited some friends over, and they baked a cake and ate chocolate waffles. Meanwhile, I drank some salt water, and it was okay. I mean, it was a little rough, but it was like a good test, so to speak. I think it's kind of important actually for us to think about this concept of suffering for a little bit. I mean, we're talking about an extended fast. We know there's going to be some of this going on, but think about people that experience chronic pain in their lives. Whether it's like musculoskeletal, like low back pain, or migraines where there's just no escape. In my opinion, that is real pain. And my heart goes out to anyone who's experiencing chronic pain in their lives. But in terms of this like mental suffering or these tests of willpower, where we strive to push ourselves in an opposite direction of what our body desires, whether that's like intense exercise or choosing to resist the temptation to eat foods. These are pretty trivial in my opinion, and I think it's healthy for us to include bouts of these episodes in our daily lives to just remind us that how fortunate we are to be alive. But anyways, getting back on topic, how am I doing? Well, I still slept pretty well. I got 8 hours last night, although I did wake up in the middle of the night with a wave of hunger. It took me about an hour to get back to sleep. But other than that, slept fine. Um, and I retested my blood levels for ketones and glucose. I'm at 6.0 ketones millimolar and 58 glucose. So I'm kind of surprised to see these numbers so soon. But I kind of rechecked my references, specifically Dr. Phinney, and he does note that uh, ketones in the 5 to 7 range are typical for fasting, for especially extended fasting. It's really not until you get to about 10, where you're just entering the phase of ketoacidosis, and really even higher than that. So I'm not worried, but I'm definitely going to keep a tight track on my levels. And that's about it for day 2. I will see you on day 3. All right, it's the end of day 4, and I'm doing all right. To be honest, day 3 and the start of day 4 really kicked my butt. I've kind of been sleeping poorly the last couple nights, had a bad headache last night, but man, I think I'm turning the corner. I've read a lot of reports about people turning this corner kind of by day 3. Like the worst day tends to be day 2, maybe day 3. And my personal schedule, I think I might be a little bit behind. Things are like slightly delayed. My hunger is doing a lot better now, but I've had some pretty intense waves the last couple days. Um, but I am happy to say that I am finally feeling a little bit better. Um, some people report feelings of like being in a euphoric state. I definitely wouldn't say I've felt euphoric. My mind it's felt fairly sharp, but in a weird way, almost like even though I haven't been sleeping well, the feeling when you sleep too much and it's like you feel good, but you also feel groggy at the same time. I would say that's kind of where I've been. Um, so yeah, when I was kind of feeling the worst, I was doubting that I would make it even to day 10. So I went ahead and bought some potassium chloride to add to my sodium supplementation, and I'm gonna stick with that. See how if that makes me feel any better. But again, like I really think I might have turned the corner. Um, my other symptoms, like man, I am feeling so weak. Uh, Weak like when you have the flu, kind of weak. I don't know if I could walk a mile right now, but we'll see. I mean, maybe things will improve. My numbers. So I had, let's see, day 3, my ketones were at 4.8, and then day 4, 6.8. Glucose, day 3 was 65, and today I think I might have got a bad reading. It said 89. Um, it's kind of weird. I feel like I'm hydrated, but I'm having trouble getting enough blood out of my fingers to get into the damn test strips. So I'll test again tomorrow. But anyways, that's kind of where I'm at. I'll keep you guys posted, but I'm still holding out hope that I can at least make it to 10 days. So thanks again, and I'll see you on maybe day 5. All right. Well, it's the end of day 7, and I've decided to end my fast. Um, Overall, it has been a good experience, but the suffering has been relentless. I mentioned how I thought I was turning the corner on day 5, and for a moment there, I was feeling better, and then I decided to supplement with potassium chloride, and it really jacked up my stomach. Now I'm notoriously sensitive to magnesium, so I guess I'm not surprised. I've never actually supplemented with potassium before, but basically it just induced this massive episode of bloating and inflammation that even now, 48 hours later, I'm still suffering from. So that's definitely contributed to my decision. The feelings of weakness have returned, and now I'm starting to feel pretty faint when I stand up. I think that's actually a pretty common symptom. But one interesting thing, a positive thing, is that my hunger has definitely stabilized at a low level. But the cravings, I still have these intense waves of cravings that even wake me up in the middle of the night. So I want this to be a good example of choosing to end your fast when your body feels it's time. I have definitely watched some videos of people describing their experience fasting as being euphoric, energized, happy to continue, and that has definitely not been the case for me. But that's okay. I'm still pretty happy with my effort. I mean, 7 days is a good length of time for some healing to occur. Um, as far as my numbers, my ketones have kind of stabilized in the right around the 5.0 range, and my glucose is in the upper 60s and lower 70s. So for the most part, I think my body's handling the fast. It's just that I feel really crappy, and I just think I'd rather take a break, replenish my body, eat some good nutrients, get back up to speed, and then, at a later date, I'll return to extended fasting. I do intend to implement like a 1 meal a day or a 24-hour fast once a week, and maybe do 3 to 5 day fast every few months, all while staying on a ketogenic diet combined with intermittent fasting. So I think this is a pretty good strategy for me. I'm really looking forward to seeing some results to see if I have healed my gut at all. So now I got to start the process that's called refeeding. Um, from what I've read, I kind of feel like some doctors and some sources overcomplicate this. It's like if you fast for 10 days, you got to spend 5 days refeeding. The fact is that refeeding syndrome and I think it's called refeeding edema, especially the former, is a very rare syndrome that occurs in people that are extremely malnourished or have other like severe problems in general. So I'm not too worried about like specifically measuring my caloric intake and macros during this refeeding process. I'm just going to eat slowly escalating portions of thoroughly cooked vegetables, a little bit of meat. I think by the end of day 2, I'll be fine. But certainly I'll listen to my body. If I need to, I'll go slower. But it'll be really, really cool to re-experience food, and I'm sure at this point I'll have a much greater appreciation for it. I mean, just the smells coming from my wife when she's in the kitchen. I mean, I literally have to leave and go to the other side of the house, and I still, yeah, it's crazy. So this about wraps up my video on an extended water fast. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope this gives you some insight into what an extended fast could be like for you. I think if you go into the fast with the mindset that it's going to be tough, then you're going to be way better off compared to expecting certain outcomes like euphoria and increased energy. There's a lot of sources that claim this is what happens, like evolution. From an evolutionary standpoint, we, growth hormone increases and energy increases so that we can find food as opposed to just withering away and dying. And yeah, maybe that is the case for our ancestors that were never on these extremely high carb diets or weren't exposed to the same kinds of toxins that we are today, or just had like completely different lifestyles in general. Maybe their bodies were way more tuned in to those times of famine, and their bodies would just ramp up and they would experience those signs and symptoms. But for someone like me or you or anyone who's inexperienced with fasting and launches into something like a 7-10 day fast, at least in my experience, I didn't feel those things. My mind did get a little bit sharper. I thought that was cool. But overall, I was just weak, tired, hungry, and then at the end, bloated and inflamed. So that's okay. Like, this is going to be a progression for all of us. And I'm pretty happy with my effort. So I do encourage you to buy some type of meter. The Keto Mojo was great. Test your ketones, test your glucose. It'll give you a good idea of where you stand, how you're progressing. And also, don't be afraid of things like vitamins, electrolyte supplements, bone broth. These are all options. You just have, I want to stress that I think it's important to go into this with a goal, and that'll help you make decisions about how you want to proceed with the fast and what type of fast you intend to do. So again, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day. And I'll be back with more videos in the future. So cheers.